What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. I meant to make this video the other day, but I got a little caught up, so I'm catching up. And Miguel Cotto has made some recent decisions, and in my opinion, I'm not really for them. I don't really agree. So let me explain and talk, and I'll let you know why I feel the way I feel. Miguel Cotto released this tweet stating that he's going to be back in the ring October 5th. He's going to be fighting Delvin Rodriguez, and Freddie Roach is going to be in his corner. Now, first things first, Freddie Roach is Cotto's new trainer. I get that, and I'm going to explore that and explain why I'm not really favorable of that pairing. But aside from that, last time I read, Freddie Roach is also training Alexander Povetkin to fight Vladimir Klitschko, on October 5th. So I don't really see how that's going to work. Freddie Roach, one, has Parkinson's, and this is no disrespect. These are just pure facts. And not even that I mean, obviously he's been doing his job with Parkinson's, but I don't see how Freddie Roach is going to give two new fighters on his stable or in his stable that he's never worked with the proper attention for perhaps make or break fights. With Cotto, to me, this is a make or break fight. Delvin Rodriguez, he's not a pushover opponent. I don't think he's the best selection, but I don't think he's just someone who has no chance in hell to beat Cotto at 54 because I don't think Cotto has looked exceptional at 54. So that's one thing. Alexander Povetkin, somebody who's rung up or strung up some good victories. However, people still feel he's relatively untested, and this is going to be as big a test fighting a Klitschko brother. Vladimir Klitschko is obviously the biggest fight of his career, not a washed up Hasim Rahman. That's a good win for his resume, but not necessarily the best version of Rahman. Rahman hadn't looked exceptional or great. It didn't look like the Rahman that knocked out Lennox Lewis. Um, so I really don't see how Freddie Roach is going to play that double duty. In recent memory, I remember another similar situation that was with Brandon Rios, Robert Garcia, and Nonito Donaire. Brandon Rios was fighting Mike Alvarado for their rematch, and Garcia was training him. Nonito had a fight with Yermo Rigondeaux, and his wife was going through pregnancy, so he was training in Las Vegas or something. Brandon Rios and Garcia were training in Oxnard. So Garcia had his other minions or other trainers working with Nonito, and he didn't really get to work with Nonito much in that fight, prepping for Rigondeaux until the very end. He came at the end and just kept in communication through phone and stuff like that. And both of his fighters lost that fight. Brandon Rios lost a decision, and then so did Nonito Donaire. And those were two fighters that Robert Garcia has been working with for years. Brandon Rios and Nonito have been a part of the Garcia stable. So I don't really see how Cotto is going to fight October 5th in a make or break fight. And the reason I say make or break is this is boxing. People already are toting Cotto as washed up, saying he's damaged goods, saying he's been washed up since the Margarito fight. His last two performances turned out to be fails. There were losses against Floyd Mayweather and Austin Trout. People are on the verge, if they have not already, written Cotto off. So if he loses again, I mean, there's only so long your fan base is going to hold out hope that you're going to make this miraculous Rocky comeback. So it's a make or break fight for Cotto. And Alexander Povetkin, that's going to be a fight where it makes or breaks him too. Not that he can't, I guess, bounce back, but people will dub him as he was overrated if he doesn't beat Klitschko or at least have a strong performance. So these are two tough fights for Freddie Roach's new fighters. I don't really see how they're going to happen on the same day. And the Povetkin fight with Vladimir Klitschko is in Moscow, I believe. So I don't know how Freddie Roach is going to clone himself and be in Moscow and also be in wherever the Cotto fight is, Vegas or Barclays or wherever it's at. And as far as Freddie Roach training Miguel Cotto, I just don't see it being the best fit. Personally, I thought the work he was doing with Pedro Diaz brought out a great Miguel Cotto. Pedro Diaz also showed he is a good trainer. in the fight with Yanimo Rigondeaux. Rigondeaux looked really in shape. He looked really ready. He looked really sharp. Not taking anything away from the fighter because it's a tandem. It's not just the fighter or not just the trainer, but it's the two working cohesively. And I thought Pedro Diaz got Rigondeaux. I seen some pre-fight interviews and mid work and tape and training of Rigondeaux preparing for the Nonito fight, and Rigondeaux looked really sharp, and he showed that he was sharp when the actual fight took place. I mean, his 12th fight or 11th fight or whatever of his professional career, and he's dethroning somebody who was on top 10 pound for pound list, Nonito Donaire. Even Cotto versus Floyd Mayweather, that was one of the toughest fights of Mayweather's career. Not many people were able to bloody Mayweather's nose or win rounds even. You know what I mean? So I thought Pedro Diaz and Cotto was a very solid fit, and I think they only did one fight together. Plus, they also have the common denominator of speaking Spanish. Pedro Diaz is Cuban, Miguel Cotto is Puerto Rican, and it just so works. I mean, I know a lot of people in Florida, Miami, Cubans and Puerto Ricans typically get along very good. Um, those two speak Spanish, so they could communicate on different levels. And just being one fight in or whatever. Actually, I think Pedro Diaz might have trained for the Austin Trout fight also. I don't really understand what's up with fighters thinking that because they lose a fight or they lose two fights or whatever the situation is, that they need to fire their trainer and get rid of their trainer. Maybe it's not their trainer. Maybe it's you. Maybe it's something you failed to do. You failed to adapt. We've seen it with Amir Khan. Amir Khan gets the Lamont Peterson loss, and then he loses to Danny Garcia. All of a sudden, he's going to Virgil Hunter. Um, Chavez Jr. took a loss with Sergio Martinez, and now all of a sudden for his next coming fight with Brian Vera, I heard he's not using Freddie Roach. I don't always think changing trainers is really the answer, and I think like Miguel Cotto is trained. He's changed more trainers than baby diapers. I don't understand. I don't think that's always the answer. So sometimes I think that hurts you. Chad Dawson, people like Chad Dawson, he's had everybody train him. Floyd Mayweather Sr. and on. And he still lost. He got knocked out by Adonis Stevenson. So it's really not all about the trainer. It's about the training more than the trainer, and what you have inside and your ability to adjust and adapt and come with the strategy and a fight plan versus whatever your opponent's throwing at you. So, in my personal opinion, I think Miguel Cotto and Pedro Diaz was a very solid combination, very solid partnership, and I think it would be better than Freddie Roach. I also think Pedro Diaz, based on his previous experience in the Olympics, gives more of an overall balanced, well-rounded type of training, if you will, versus a Freddie Roach who is heavily offensive minded. If you look at previous Roach fighters, Pacquiao, Amir Khan, Latif Coyote, or whoever the fuck, any Freddie Roach trainer really, Jorge Linares, any of those dudes, they are very offensive minded. He doesn't really teach much on the defensive end, and most of their fighters are kind of more one dimensional. And you look at any other trainer, and they usually have different styles under their resume. Virgil Hunter, he has an Angulo, who in my opinion is pretty one-dimensional. He's a brawler, a big puncher, but he also has Andre Ward, who is a very versatile, well-rounded, smart fighter. He also has Amir Khan, who is an action fighter. He has some boxing ability. He has better footwork than someone like an Angulo. He has Kareem Mayfield, who mixes it up pretty well. But if you look at Virgil Hunter's stable, there's differences per fighter. There's different styles. A lot of Freddie Roach's fighters, Zhao Shiming, Pacquiao, a lot of them, Amir Khan when he was with them, they're just very offensive-minded fighters. And there's not really much on the defensive end. And that's just my honest opinion. Aside from that, I don't agree with just some recent decisions for Cotto. Cotto is back with Top Rank. The reason I don't agree with that is because I remember reading articles. They were trying to make a Manny Pacquiao versus Cotto Part 2. Cotto was saying that he got lowballed from Bob Arum and Top Rank. They were offering him the same amount of money that they offered him in the first fight. They were lowballing him, trying to take advantage. And I think I remember reading somewhere that Miguel Cotto said that Top Rank owed him money, so he was a free agent, and that's how the Floyd Mayweather fight got made. He fought on Showtime with Austin Trout because he was a free agent with a working relationship with Golden Boy, and that's how those fights came about. But now he's back with Top Rank. It just doesn't really make sense, especially for someone who had previous gripes about Top Rank, unless they settled everything. But it seemed like it would be better off to finish his career as a free agent, or maybe even with Golden Boy. That's just my personal opinion. Next, Cotto's selection and opponent, Delvin Rodriguez. I mean, again, like I said earlier in the video, it's not a walkover opponent. I'm not saying it's an easy fight, but it's not really the fight that's going to propel Cotto back into the spotlight. Cotto has a very strong fan base. He's been a figure in the sport for years. I just don't think a win over Delvin Rodriguez really does much for him. I think there's much better fights that could have been made. I think fans would rather see a Gabriel Rosado, Cotto versus Edislandi Lara, Cotto versus even one of the guys at 147 moving up, like if Victor Ortiz were to move up. Ortiz is a big kid. Challenge him at 154, see how he looks. It's also a long layoff comeback fight. I think people would love to see Cotto in those types of fights, and I think wins like that would be more significant in terms of who he's fighting. And Delvin Rodriguez is relatively unknown aside from like real boxing fans. He lost to Austin Trout. Austin Trout lost to Canelo. So I just don't really see where this places Miguel Cotto if he is victorious. And obviously, if he loses, again, this is kind of a make or break fight. So if he loses to Delvin Rodriguez, then that absolutely does nothing for him, and he might as well just hang him up. I feel Cotto's never ducked anybody. He has a very strong resume. I feel like if he's not going to fight people that in his prime he would have been matched up with, then he might as well retire and hang him up. And I don't think prime Cotto, if they were in the same weight division at the time, I don't think he would have been matched up with the Delvin Rodriguez, somebody with probably, I think, over 6 losses on his record. It just, like I said, I just don't really see what it does for Cotto. I do respect the sport of boxing and understand that after 2 losses, you don't want to take a tough fight that's going to banish you from the sport of boxing because everyone writes you off. 3 losses looks horrible. And we've seen that in the Amir Khan fight. Amir Khan fought Lamont Peterson, lost. He fought Danny Garcia, got TKO'd. And then his third fight in that order was against Carlos Molina, a fight where he was definitely the favorite by a drastic amount. And he showed that in the actual fight. So I understand taking a soft touch, but I think there's other fights that are winnable for Cotto that I guess make more sense, or they would be more credible wins if he does win. They're also talking about Canine Bundridge versus Cotto. I would have rather seen that than Delvin Rodriguez and Cotto, but even Canine, that doesn't even make that much sense to me because Canine Bundridge lost his belt to Ishe Smith. Maybe even the winner of Ishe Smith versus Carlos Molina, but that would be a very awkward fight. I suspect Carlos Molina will beat Ishe Smith, but I think Carlos Molina would be a tricky fight. So to a degree, I understand why he would want to take a softer touch, but I just think out of all the opponents, Delvin Rodriguez is not one that I would have even matched Cotto up with for an HBO date. To me, it seems like a ESPN Friday Night Fights type of fight. I could be wrong. Let me know what you guys think. As always, hate, comment, or subscribe. Till next videos, Ego signing off.